All right, let's dive in. Today, we are talking all about one of North America's most iconic animals, the elk. I mean, from those incredible antlers to their really complex social lives, we're going to break down what makes this symbol of the wild so fascinating.
So here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll meet the majestic elk itself. Then, we're going to get into its incredible anatomy. After that, we'll take a look at a year in the life of an elk and then dive into their herds and harems. And finally, we'll see how the next generation gets its start.
Okay, first up, meet the majestic elk, an icon of North America. To really get a handle on these animals, you gotta know who they are and where they live. You know, when you think of an elk, you probably picture something just like this, somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, right? But that's only a sliver of their story. It's actually kind of wild to think about. They used to be one of the most widespread large animals in all of North America. I'm talking from the Atlantic coast clear over to the Pacific. And this map here gives us a fantastic look at the 4 subspecies we have around today. You can see the Rocky Mountain elk, that's the big one, covering a huge range. But then you also have the Roosevelt elk out on the coast, the smaller Thule elk, which are only found in California, and the Manitoban elk way up in the northern plains. All right, let's move on to their incredible anatomy, because these animals are just built for survival. Let's break down the physical tools that make them so tough. Okay, first things first. The size difference between the males, we call them bulls, and the females, or cows, is pretty huge. A fully grown bull can weigh up to 900 pounds and stand 5 feet tall just at the shoulder. That easily makes them one of the biggest members of the deer family. And of course, we have to talk about those antlers. I mean, that's their signature feature, right? But what's so incredible is that these aren't horns that stick around forever. No, they are pure bone that the bulls shed and regrow every single year. The new set starts growing right away, covered in this fuzzy skin called velvet, and it grows at a mind-blowing rate. We're talking up to an inch a day. So just how heavy are we talking? Well, a mature bull's rack of antlers can weigh a staggering 40 pounds. 40 pounds. Just think about that for a second. Imagine the kind of neck and shoulder muscles it takes just to carry that around all day, never mind using them. But it's not all about the muscle and antlers. Elk are packed with all sorts of amazing features. For example, they have a 4-chambered stomach that lets them digest really tough stuff like grass, shrubs, and even tree bark. They also have these special canine teeth called ivories. And for such massive animals, they are unbelievable athletes. They can run up to 40 miles an hour and jump 8 feet straight up. And get this, there's even evidence they're smart enough to tell the difference between a bull with 9 antler points and one with 10. Wow. Okay, let's take a look at a year in the life of an elk. It's really fascinating to see how pretty much everything they do, from what they eat to where they live, is all about adapting to the seasons. And their menu is a perfect example of this. In the spring and summer, it's a buffet of fresh grasses and flowering plants. But when winter rolls around, they have to get tough. Their diet switches to things like shrub twigs and even tree bark just to make it through. And it's not just their food that changes, it's their address. Elk need a mix of open areas for grazing and forests for cover, so a lot of herds go on these incredible migrations. They'll spend their summers way up in high mountain meadows and then travel down to lower, more sheltered valleys to ride out the winter. All right, now for the really dramatic stuff. Elk herds and their complex social life. See, for most of the year, the bulls and the cows live in separate herds, but that all changes in the fall, during the most intense and important time of their year. That intense period is called the rut. It's their annual mating season, and this is when a quiet, peaceful landscape basically turns into a stage for some serious competition, courtship, and just these incredible displays of power. And if the rut had a soundtrack, it would be the bugle. It is truly one of the most amazing and kind of haunting sounds you can hear out in the wild. It starts with this high-pitched squeal and then drops into this low, guttural rumble. It's the bull's #1 way of communicating during this whole season. So what are they actually saying? Well, that bugle is basically a bull shouting, "Hey ladies, look at me," and also telling other bulls, "Back off." But they've got a whole range of sounds. There's a sharp bark that's an alarm call for danger, a softer mew that cows use to keep in touch with each other, and a gentle chirp that a calf uses to talk to its mom. And things can get, well, a little strange. A bull goes through this whole ritual. He'll dig a pit in the ground, urinate in it, and then roll around. Yeah, it might sound bizarre to us, but this creates a sort of
perfume that coats his body. It's his way of letting the cows know he's ready to mate and trying to attract them to his harem. And all of that intense effort during the rut leads to this, the next generation. A new life begins. The entire future of the herd really rests on the survival of its youngest, most vulnerable members, the calves. Elk calves are usually born in the late spring, and in the days leading up to the birth, the mother cow actually leaves the safety of the herd. She finds a quiet, hidden spot to give birth all by herself. And it's just amazing how these little guys are equipped for survival right from the start. A newborn calf only weighs about 35 pounds, and it's born with these white spots that act as perfect camouflage in the grass. But get this, they're also born completely scentless, so predators have a really hard time finding them. For their first few weeks, their best survival strategy is to just lie perfectly still while their mom forages nearby. So we've seen their incredible power, their complex lives, and their very fragile beginnings. So what does it all mean? What is the legacy that this majestic animal carries forward? Well, it's about so much more than just survival. The elk is a symbol of the untamed wild. It represents the enduring spirit of the places they call home. And every single bugle that echoes through the mountains, every new calf that takes its first wobbly steps, that's all part of carrying the legacy of the herd forward.